and welcome to another 'Tis the Season video series class hosted by Jen Gallacher. This week is our project number 2, and we're going to create a card this week. I wanted to do something a little different, maybe a little non-traditional from what you're thinking of Christmas, because I was inspired by this basic gray Christmas set called Nordic Holiday, and it reminds me of a Scandinavian holiday, and so I wanted to use some of the greens and reds, but incorporate some of the blues, which is very Scandinavian. So what we're starting with is actually a card by American Crafts. It's already pre-made. This is actually from their Valentine's line, but the print and the color looks very Scandinavian to me. I have pre-cut a strip from this double-sided Nordic Holiday pattern paper, and we're going to go ahead and add that to the bottom of our card, just along the edge. And then, just like last week, if you saw last week's, we are going to do some stamping. I'm using this grid background stamp by Hero Arts. And again, my favorite tone-on-tone stamping color is the Sahara Sand by Stampin' Up. I will link you to some other products that may fit your style a little bit better that are in the 2 Peas in a Bucket store. That is my go-to online shopping for scrapbook supplies. So when you're stamping on a big background stamp, you often want to lay the paper on top of the stamp and use a brayer to ink the image into the cardstock. This gives you a complete and even and very crisp and clean image. So that's just a little tip and hint for you to see. So there's the grid stamp. Alright, so I want to add a little bit of a strip to this card. So I'm going to cut out a strip with my paper cutter of this grid stamping, and I'm going to be using a circle image, and I already have it, so I'm going to turn it upside down so I know exactly how thick that I want my grid strip to be. So I kind of eyeball it, and then I am going to mount it in here inside the card, or rather on top of the card. And you could further decorate this by inking the edges first or machine stitching, whatever you like to do. And then you can just trim off the excess from the back with scissors or a paper trimmer. Or if you're really precise, you can do this beforehand. Now, like I said, it's very Scandinavian to bring in blue to the project that you're doing. Scandinavian colors include the red and green traditional colors as well as the blue. I would like to stick some ribbon on here. This is red double-sided sticky tape. This is my go-to adhesive for things like ribbon or heavy chipboard. So we're actually going to lay the sticky side down. Leave a little bit of an overlap on each side, and I'll show you why in just a second. And then use scissors to trim off the extra. Now I recommend when you're using double-sided sticky tape that you have a pair of scissors maybe that you got at the dollar store or an old pair. The adhesive will gum up your scissors, and even though you can clean them after a time, they just aren't as sharp and work as well. So reserve this kind of adhesive for your non-important sticker or scissors. Okay, so we left a little bit of the sticky on the overlap of each side of the card, and the reason we're going to do that is so that we can turn the tab over like that and stick the excess on the inside of the card. Now if you like the inside of your cards to look clean, you can very easily cover this with a sheet of cardstock. So here's what our card looks like so far, and then these are some tags from the same basic gray Nordic Holiday line, and they actually come in a packet, and they have several of the same tags so that if you're working on doing a bunch of projects, you can stick these tags on gifts, on cards, and just be ready to go. There are tons and tons and tons of in here, and they don't just come with this. There's a lot of different ones. So the top part is just like a sticky note and is sticky, but I want the entire thing to be sticky, so I'm going to add that right here. Also from that same package were a stack of little mini white Nordic Holiday tags. These little tags, and I'm going to use 2 of these tags on this card as well, and I'm just going to kind of tuck them underneath. And you won't be able to see the cute little holiday stitching, but that's okay. I'm going to do something else there. And then I'm going to come back to this Nordic holiday sticker sheet. This is full of fun icons and borders and things. And I'm going to pull off this blue heart, and I'm going to use an adhesive foam square just in the center. And I'm going to add this to my card right there. And then I'm going to come back in and get this very little heart and do the same thing. Just add a sticky tab on the back. Make sure if you have to turn your adhesive foam square that you're showing as little as possible of the foam beneath the sticker. We'll go ahead and add that there. Actually, I think I'm going to move the little hearts. I want them to kind of look like that. All right, so to the tags, I want to add some a little more dimension. So I have some red gingham ribbon. And when I cut my ribbon, I always cut it at an angle so that it has a very pointy edge that can be easily strung through my tags. And then I'm just going to knot these off, and I'll do that for each tag. Just cut off the excess and repeat the same steps for the second tag. Now they're kind of a tone-on-tone red with the red card. Sometimes I want something that's really contrasting and really pops, and sometimes I just want a subtle tone-on-tone pattern or tone-on-tone color for something different like that. So we have that so far. Now I want to dress up the bottom a little bit, so I have some red cardstock. And then I have a Fisker's border punch. You can see it's kind of an open scallop punch. There's a lot of different ways to use border punches. This is the way that I found that works best for me. There are instructions found on each manufacturer's website that shows you how. But I put it on the bottom and line up the corners, and then I turn it over. And you can see there's a pattern of 3 scallops. And I just match those up and then punch again. Pardon me. And then I repeat the pattern until I have the border strip I want. So you can see it makes a big mess on your project, so just dust these out of the way. And so you can see the border that I have, but I don't want to waste all of this paper, so I'm going to trim off the excess part of that, leaving me with a much more narrow strip. So then I'm going to add adhesive to the bottom of the card. And then one designer tip is that when you're using a shape, you want to try and have an even amount of scallop on this side as you have on this side. That's just a designer tip. So as you're creating your card, watch where your scallops lie and just cut off the excess. That gives it a little more dimension on the bottom. The last thing that I want to do is add some bling to this particular card, and I have 2 crystal stick pins, and I'm going to open the card up so that I'm not sticking through the back side of the card, and I'm going to very gently, without stabbing my fingers, be very careful, add the stick pins to one of the white tags, and you just barely stick it through some of the top part of the tag, but underneath this big tag. So now that I've kind of put the tags behind and the stick pins behind, I'm going to add a little glue dot to hold the circle in place. So there you have our Scandinavian Christmas card. Be sure to visit my blog, Insightful at Blogger, and you can see more additional instructions and photos for completing this project.